Welcome back to the ticket setup series. In today's session, we're going to focus in on the service catalog and specifically Chat Studio within the service catalog. So as you're building out service catalog items and you are building out different knowledge articles and different templates, you're going to be creating phrases for those respective catalog items. And those phrases are going to allow for the end user and agent to go into Ticket Virtual Agent, ask a question, and bring back an appropriate response. Now, one of the things you're going to learn as you start to build out more and more catalog items is that these phrases are going to potentially need to be tuned so that the appropriate phrase is being used to bring back the appropriate item, and that it's not bringing back another item which wasn't intentional when you were building out these phrases. The only way to test this inside of there's multiple ways to test this. You could go into Microsoft Teams and just take a virtual agent. Every single time you make an edit to a catalog item and a phrase, you can go test how it feels inside a Ticket Virtual Agent. That's one way to do it, but we have a much more intuitive way to do that within the Service Catalog and specifically within Chat Studio. So what Chat Studio allows for us to do is it allows for us to have a conversation with our Service Catalog, emulating Ticket Virtual Agent, and showing us how, when we ask a question, the type of responses we're going to get. So as a quick example, if I were to type, I need the Wi-Fi password, you'll see here that an answer comes back. This is the knowledge article and the response with that respective knowledge article. Now, before I continue, I want to highlight on the right-hand side, there's a few options here. So some of them that I want to highlight, actually I'll go top to bottom here. So if I include draft and review catalog items, or in review catalog items, what's happening here is I want to be able to search not only my active ones, but my draft or in review items. If I want to include agent-only articles as well, I can do that. If I have Ticket hooked up to Azure OpenAI, I can also emulate how that experience is when I ask a question, bring back an Azure OpenAI response. There's a whole setup section in this area around hooking up Azure OpenAI to Ticket so that you can bring back generative responses when having a question with typing or asking a question within Ticket Virtual Agent. I recommend go watching that particular video to get an understanding of how that works. And the last option here, in terms of checkboxes at least, is show the ticket deflection score. This is actually pretty key, and it will show you how accurate the phrase is with respect to the thing that was asked. Last two things I want to highlight, and then I'm going to show you what some of these checkboxes affected this experience. There's ticket deflection score threshold and number of responses to return. Now, inside of the settings area, inside of bot configuration, these two settings are set. And if you want to change these permanently, you will go there to change them. And there's a whole section in the setup series in this area of the service catalog that talks about deflection and thresholds and all the settings around that. So if you want to deep dive in that, I would recommend watching that particular video. But with respect to the Chat Studio, this is allowing for you to tune the threshold and tune the number of responses to return so you can see what works in terms of the questions being asked and the catalog items being brought back. And then once you're happy, you would go into bot configuration to go permanently change those items. I'm going to leave those there as is, and we'll talk about what this all means. And I've checked some boxes here. So let me ask that same question. I need the Wi-Fi password. What you're going to see here is I'm getting a couple of new responses. So the first is that the deflection score is 80, implying that Ticket AI interpreted the intention of that request. It matched that particular article about 80%. And because it was above the ticket threshold of 65, it brought back that answer. You'll also see here that there was no Azure OpenAI responses. The reason for that is because our service catalog knew the answer to this question. However, if it didn't, and it will then go out to Azure OpenAI if we have it connected. And if that has a response at that point, it will bring it back. But because we have an answer here for the Wi-Fi password, we're never going to get back an Azure OpenAI response. Let me just show you another example so you can kind of get a feel for this. I need Teams access. That is bringing back a score of 76, and it's bringing back the template. That's the template that we've used in the service catalog section to request access to Microsoft Teams in my business. One other example, just to kind of show you something that doesn't work. If I say like my printer is broken, you're going to see that has a deflection score of 0 because nothing matches with respect to getting an answer out of the catalog. So if I wanted that to match, I would tune my catalog items to bring a match back for that. Again, the idea here is that you don't have to leave this experience. You can test, you can tune the phrases, you can get a feel for how Tikit Virtual Agent will work in real life, and then once you're happy with that, you can go then experience that within Tikit Virtual Agent. This is where we're going to end this video. Really hope you enjoyed the session, and if you have any questions, please email team@cyerson.com.